Let's talk money.
I don't have your money.
I know I'd be a lot happier with some extra cash.
Is this about money?
Obviously, this is all about money.
Oh, man, we got bills to pay, buddy.
With practical tips and a focus on scripture, let's talk money. With Dave and Reb. From More Than Enough. Real conversations about money for real people. Let's talk money.
Are you ready to talk money, Reb?
I'm ready to talk money.
Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see Reb smiling a big smile.
Because you knocked the thing. And anyway.
Yeah, it was the entry into the show was...
it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
We have a great show.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the show. So if you are watching on YouTube, welcome. We are so grateful. If you are new to the show... Well, you got a big treat. If this is your first show, big treat. Of course, you can find all of the shows that we have on morethanenough.ca, chri.ca, notmine.ca. Those websites have the player right there. Of course, and YouTube has the player. And then, of course, if you're listening on a podcast, wherever you find your podcast, you can search Let's Talk Money with Dave and Reb. And incidentally, just for fun, I Googled Let's Talk Money with Dave and Reb. And guess what? Like, our show was the top hit.
Well, it's because you regularly look it up, so I think it comes up regularly
maybe.
On Google.
So maybe that's
okay.
What
You guys can randomly go Google Let's Talk Money with Dave and Reb and see what you get.
Yes.
But you probably are all listeners too, so it'll come up first.
Okay. So speaking of notmine.ca,
yes.
They are the sponsor for the show. So we are, of course, we have Ray Borg from notmine.ca on a regular basis.
Yes, you do.
And they're sponsoring the show today. So thank you to
Financial Discipleship Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. But you probably heard the ad before the show, so we're good.
It's all the same people.
Okay. I know I still am very confused by the whole thing. So
you're allowed to be, but that's okay.
All right. You're not. That's good. Okay. Can you introduce our guest, please?
Well, okay. So we have a wonderful young couple. We were just talking about how more mature we are in terms of our marriage. But young couple here in Emily and Caleb. Welcome to the show, Emily and Caleb.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Anyway, maturity doesn't come with years. It just comes.
Well, it
anyway.
does.
Yeah, okay.
We're not going there.
Anyway, you've been married a year and a half. This is Emily and Caleb. And I don't know if you both go by Gagnier, Caleb Gagnier, and you're a Gagnier now.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I keep thinking of your email address, Emily, but we've have you on the show today because we want to hear your money story a little bit and how you found out about More Than Enough and all of that. But before we get into it and you tell us some of your story, I wanted to read Psalm 133 because I was thinking about the Unleashed workshops and I was thinking about the last one we did about communication, and you guys are in the midst of our workshops right now. And I was thinking of unity and how one of the purposes of money, that Howard Dayton has written about for years, is that God wants unity in our marriages. And I want to read Psalm 133. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to dwell together in unity. It's like precious oil upon the head, running down the beard of Aaron, running down on the edge of his garments. It's like the dew of Hermon descending upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore. And I was thinking about how as you become united in your finances, especially when you have a good start, and like we get very excited when young couples come to, we're like, oh, we're so happy because if we wouldn't.
There's some deprogramming to do, but to be honest, it's like that's nothing compared to the couple that's been together for 20 years and we have to go, okay, let's start all over.
Well, and I mean, in our Unleashed group, you are seeing some of the differences, right?
Yeah.
And the hardships that people struggle with in marriage. And yet I think, for there, the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore. And it's not like we're, coming to More Than Enough. You get a blanket slate for unity and money. And, you're going to be walking through it your whole life. And you might be calling you're not being currently coached anymore, but Stephen, you might have to call again and say, Stephen, we can't resolve this. But, it's a beautiful, I love the truth of what Howard Dayton's written, but really it's God's heart that money can be, I always say this, if money can be such a tool for the enemy to bring destruction in marriage and relationships, how much more does God want to use money to bring us together and not for the purpose of being greedy and getting what you want together, but actually being able to further the kingdom of God. So that's just pretty cool. So anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you came to More Than Enough? I don't know who wants to start.
We'll let the ladies go first because I know Caleb will talk. So
Emily, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, we've been married about 1.5 years now. And I think it was probably close to a year before we got married, we started coaching with Steven. It was actually a wedding gift. My parents wanted to help us start off with...
We love your parents. You should love your parents.
Yes, we do. So we started coaching with Steven, and that was really, really helpful for us because it just sort of gave us an opportunity even to talk about things that were maybe uncomfortable. Like, I don't think either of us were super used to talking about money before. Right. So it gave us a place to talk about all the little things and to have an unbiased sort of voice to help us through the challenges. Because we were young. We were trying to figure out what married life would look like and how we could afford living in Ottawa, especially being in ministry.
What do you now, Caleb? Just maybe give us a little bit of your background. What do you got? What do you do? And then Emily? What do you do for income? Actually?
Yeah, so we actually work together, which is awesome. You guys, I guess, get that experience as well. Yeah, so we work at West Village Church. Emily is the kids ministry coordinator. I'm the pastoral assistant.
Okay.
We get kind of the unique opportunity to work together and kind of share that experience. And so, that being said, we kind of depend on the same source for income and kind of presents its own unique challenges and excitements and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that you've moved 3 times in the last 1.5 years.
Yeah, just trying to figure everything out. We lived in my grandma's apartment for the first week we were married. And then we moved to a tiny 300 square foot apartment in Quebec. It was like an Airbnb thing. Yeah. And then we moved to a little bit of a bigger 400 square foot apartment in Quebec. For the first year. And then the way they do it in Quebec is they have a year-long lease instead of month to month after that. Right. So then we had to decide if we wanted to stay in Quebec or move back. So then we decided that we wanted to move back, be a little closer to work and a little closer to family. So we moved back, and now we've been in this spot since October, and hopefully we'll be here for a little bit longer.
Yeah. For you, and you live right around the corner from the radio station.
We do,
and this is the Ottawa area for anyone who is listening.
So
outside.
Quebec is not far. Just to we just crossed the river, and there we are.
Yeah, and for any international listeners, because I know we have some, that is Quebec is the province outside of Ontario. So this is Ottawa, Ontario. Anyway, enough geography. But how, so they gave that to you as a gift. Were you at first, did you feel oh man, Caleb, in your case, my in-laws don't think I can handle money right? Or how did you feel about that? And how did you work through that?
Well, I actually got the also unique experience. I kind of grew up around you guys with the Gallaghers. So I was pretty aware of More Than Enough and kind of aware of the programs and stuff. And Debbie had been kind of
and Debbie
probing me.
Works for our office. So I can imagine.
Yeah, so I kind of had my own idea of also doing it. But then when the in-laws said hey, we want to pay for this with you guys and kind of give you this as a stepping stone to your marriage, then we were we're in. So it was kind of, I had that experience of kind of being a little bit dipping my toes in, I guess, or whatever. And I think I was pretty excited. I think I was pretty ready because like Emily said, neither of us had really talked about money or kind of had that idea of what money was going to look like going into marriage and stuff. So it was, we were pretty excited to figure it all out and start well.
So did you guys have because I think you had some student debt that you had to process as well in your married life. Mm-hmm. So that's a fairly common starting place for couples. So tell me a little bit about that.
I can tell you about that. We're very proud of our student debt. We still have student debt.
Okay.
I had $26,000 of student debt. Started paying that off right after we got married. Okay. And now we have 9?
Something
10.
Like that.
Wow.
So in the first 1.5 years, we've been able to, so we're very happy with that. We want to pay it off. We kind of have a small goal of paying it off by the end of the year. We'll see if that happens.
Wow.
But yeah, and that again is
So you
thanks to more than
started
enough.
work. So that was September, like a year and a half ago, that you started working on that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's definitely been amazing just to see how God has provided for us, because it's 100% Him. Like, it makes no sense on paper how we've been able to pay it off that quickly.
And was that something then that coaching, like that Stephen was like, okay, guys, like, what are your goals with this? Or how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing huge in with Stephen and coaching was like, setting up the spending plan and the budgets. And so to see kind of where all the money went, because I don't know if we really would have done that so accurately, I guess, without Stephen. So like figuring out where the money was going to and then setting aside that amount to kind of go. And then he was kind of teaching us just like, oh, you have a lump sum, put it on the debt. Like you saved up a little money, put it on the debt. So yeah, the kind of those encouragements.
Yeah, making sure that there wasn't any like at the end of the month, if we hadn't spent all of our grocery budget or whatever other part of our budget, then we would just put it towards the debt. And so, yeah.
Good. And then, so foundation, that's what I'm thinking. As I hear you guys is going, wow, this is a great foundation to go. So paying the debt is one goal. Have you got any other goals that you're like working on, or is it solely focused?
Right now, it's hit the debt. We were actually like in the Unleashed. We were talking about our dreams and we were talking about our like goals. And me and Emily were talking about like goals to buy a house and have a family. I think they're pretty small goals, but hopefully attainable. They seem unattainable at the moment, right? They seem very far away, buying a house and stuff. And so we were talking with Stephen about that. And Reb said, just ask Stephen what he thinks. And he said, what's the first step? And we kind of looked at each other. What is the first step? And we're like, I guess pay off student debt, right? And then start putting money away for a house. And then start seeing what our budgets are and all of that stuff, right? So we just said, what's the first step? Which kind of brought it from like this big picture of like, we want to buy a house and it seems so unattainable, but it's like, okay, what's the first step? Get that student debt going and start putting some money away with that money that we're going to be having from that student debt, right? That's not going to paying off something else.
That's actually a huge piece of wisdom, Emily. I don't know if that resonated with you, but I'm like, when you have a mountain, and for those of you who don't know what Unleashed is about, it's a workshop we do that coincides with coaching. They're workshops. It's not like a Bible study, but it's topical every week. And we talk about dreams and goals and commitment to that and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can call us and find out more. But what is the first step? Thanks, Caleb. I know he's very.
I need pom-poms.
Yeah, I know. I'm really thankful for Caleb because he really likes what we do. But like, what's the first step? And I guess that's for listeners today, that's a great question for us in our finances. It's a mountain, but what's the first step? For some people, really your first step initially was finding a coach or finding out more about it. So I guess listeners can answer that question and for themselves, but what was the biggest surprise for you in coaching? Like, did you kind of have like, oh, this is what it's going to be, and then it turned out different, or did maybe there was no surprises? Maybe it's exactly what you thought.
For me, I think the biggest surprise was just like, I don't even know that this was the coaching itself, but definitely Stephen's wisdom was just that, like, I was going into our engagement time of thinking we're never going to have enough money to be able to pay rent and buy groceries. Like, it's never going to happen. At the time, Caleb was working for a camp and his job was ending like a couple months before we got married. So we didn't really know where he was going to even be working when we got married. Yeah, right. So it was a little stressful.
I was unemployed for the first month of our marriage.
Yes.
So it was stressful for you.
Yeah. But Stephen's very wise and gave us lots of helpful tips and helped us to plan out very like nice and far in advance so that we knew we would have enough, and helped us to budget in ways that we could actually afford and were attainable.
And the emergency fund was big.
Yes, the emergency fund too.
Which was cool. Like, we kind of had this leftover wedding money because of COVID. So that was one good thing that came out of COVID. And we had kind of this leftover money that we weren't able to spend towards the wedding. So then Stephen's like, emergency fund. And so so we just kind of put a bunch of that towards the emergency fund, and I've slowly built that up to a place where Stephen said like 3 months of living, I guess, right? So we have like 3 months of living kind of to rely back on if anything were to happen or anything. So yeah, I think what was surprising is like how much work goes into like at the forefront and then how easy it gets later, right? Like it kind of seems overwhelming, like setting up your budget and getting into the rhythm of doing that, and the financial dates and like those are kind of stressful at first, right? And then but now it's just like we almost stress if we don't do it. It's what we fall back on now.
Totally. That's it. That is amazing, because I would say after doing it for 15 years, agree. Yeah, that is definitely.
Yeah, we've actually passed the phase where, you know, you're like, oh, I miss doing the financial date. And so then you go do it. Now we're at the, oh man, we missed the financial date and we missed the financial date. So it's like, okay, the third time around we have to
I'm like, Dave, we really need to meet on this. Like, we can't just talk about it over supper. Like, you know, because you get in the rhythm and the automatic things happen, right? So you're automatically, I imagine, I shouldn't assume, but you're automatically paying your it's an automated payment to your student debt, I imagine.
Yeah, there's a minimum,
Yeah, and you get to the, you know, as you talk about it and it actually becomes something where there's not so much tension or conflict. And that's, again, that's a little bit of a learned, like the more you do it, the better you get at it. Yeah. Oh, funny. Like it's funny how that works, right? And like, so, you know, as you get to that, just going, okay, it does get easier. And again, Reb and I have admitted on the show that sometimes we're really comfortable. We talk about money all the time. And it's like, wait a minute. No, we actually have to train ourselves to sit down and say, this needs intentional time, and we can't just do it on the fly. And so,
I mean, this week I just discovered that we have automatic payments for our grocery card. And I'm like, why is our cash flow so good? I go in and look, well, the automatic payments after 52 weeks had stopped. So I had to restart it. But meanwhile, we've missed. Anyway, it was
we didn't miss any payments. It's all good.
No, but we missed putting our grocery part onto that grocery card, because that's how we manage our groceries. But anyway, it was very like, well, when you're not paying attention to your money, that could have been 2 months of trouble. Anyway, Anyway, so what would you say has been for your marriage in this journey? I know you're new and it's young and all that. Was it helpful to start before you had your marriage? Like what do you think?
They're both shaking their heads. They're not going to see that, but they are both shaking their heads. Positive fashion.
Nodding. They're both nodding.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
So was it good to start before you got married?
Yes, it was the best thing we could have done. There was like that we did. So there's like an alpha pre-marriage course.
Yes.
And then we did pre-marriage counseling with our pastor. And we started this like a year, maybe 8 months before we got married. And we got an opportunity through all those things to really talk about the things that have come up in our marriage that we wouldn't have expected otherwise, right? And like I just like, it's such a step, right? Getting married is such a new thing. And then you're living with someone and the opposite gender and you're learning all about them. And there's a lot of new, right? So to have a little bit of familiarity going into that.
Right. Because you're already learning to talk about money.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you would share, like a story, like where you guys like, oh, this is a clashing point. We need to have Stephen's help with it? Or you guys are just so like compatible, like
financially, I think we're pretty compatible. Like we both hate spending money is what it comes down to. So there's never been like some big purchase of like, well, like what did we talked to Stephen about like buying our car or rent, like our moving to Ottawa.
Yes.
It was really, he walked us through like, okay, can we afford this? Because it was like twice as much as what we were paying in Gatineau. So it was like, can we afford this? Can we make this work? And it was stressful and for both of us. It wasn't like clashing us, but it was definitely like, Stephen, we need you.
Yes. So did you feel, Emily, was it when you made that transition and you're talking with Stephen about it, did you have to give, I shouldn't say it like this because I never like to, but give something up? Like, did you have to... Right. You know, we don't like those words necessarily, but sometimes
you do.
Sometimes you have to like, okay, we're going to lay down that thing that I love to do so that we can actually live in Ottawa?
Right. I think that like the biggest thing that I kind of struggled with through this was trying to decide like if we should be content in our small apartment that was far from work and far from family and just be content there, or if God had something better for us and we should just trust him that he'll provide.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for me. And I think in praying about it together and talking through it with Stephen, I sort of was trying to find ways that we could save money in other parts of the budget so that it would be more affordable to be in Ontario. And one of the ways, funny enough, was I had to be more creative in cooking and making sure that we weren't spending more on the groceries than we needed to, and just maybe a little less exotic meals, which I really love to cook. So that was challenging at first, but definitely getting used to it. I don't know beyond that.
That is brilliant wisdom right there. How did you come to terms with, I can be content here, but maybe God has, how did you guys come to that place where you said Ottawa is it?
Right. It was a lot of tears and prayer.
Yes.
Our, I don't know, boss, almost, our interim pastor at church right now, he was just like walking kind of through that with us and was saying, like, you know, God, it's God's money. Mm-hmm. And so use the money in the way that you think glorifies God the most, right? And so that's what we kind of like started to walk through. It was like, okay, like, yes, we're saving money. Yes, we'll be able to pay off the debt more. Yes, we'll be able to live more comfortably in this small apartment. Mm-hmm. But we can't host people, which is something we love to do. Mm-hmm. We can't have people in because we had the one bedroom. We couldn't like accommodate people in anything. And like being in ministry and stuff, we always have people in our house now. Mm-hmm. And so we said, it's probably scarier to go, but we think that we'll actually be able to use this place for God even more if we have the more space to do that. And like, it's been exactly that. Like people have stayed in our guest room all the time. We have probably someone over for a meal every week. And
that's amazing. Yeah. It sounds like you wrestled through it a little bit to come to that place. Yeah. But also what I'm hearing is that you had people around you. Like, so your pastor was there and you were going for wise counsel with someone you trusted. And Stephen, I imagine.
Yes, and Stephen was there through it. And Stephen was giving us more of the, like, he was like our cheerleader. Like, every time we met with Stephen, he was just like, you guys are doing great. And like, keep going. You're not doing anything wrong. Like, just keep trusting it, keep going, keep taking the next step. And so that was really encouraging. Like, right? Like just saying like we get so stressed out and we meet with Stephen and we're like, okay. And then, like, he's like, you guys are doing good. And so that was big. Yeah. And then our pastor kind of was walking through it with us and just saying like more of the spiritual kind of like discernment side, I think. Sure. Yeah. But.
Good. And is it worth it? Right? Like, and that's the question. So right, you made the transition. So obviously you went, okay, we did the hard work of putting the numbers on paper and actually kind of making some sacrifices. I mean, we often say, you know, money is just a tool to help create the life that you guys want to live or the life that you feel God wants you to live, however you want to frame that. But, you know, is it worth it?
I think so, yeah.
You were just saying you can have people in like you love and all of that. Is it a bit tough with your spending plan?
It is. Our budget is much tighter. We have a lot less wiggle room.
Yeah, I was just going to say wiggle room.
Yes. Wiggle room is not really there anymore. But like, again, like Emily said, like our finances don't make sense on paper. And like theoretically, we probably shouldn't be making it. But yeah, like because we did the homework and Stephen helped us kind of punch in the real numbers and stuff, and we can kind of lean back, okay, we know we can't make it at least. And then it's just being kind of more conscious and not like going to buy groceries for every meal and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I know. We just went down to one child for a few months because our kids are traveling. And I'm like, it is way too convenient to say, let's order pizza.
We're saving money on doing dishwasher. Once a day. Maybe once every 2 days.
But now as a mom who's been cooking for 30 or whatever years I've been cooking, you're just like, I don't want to cook tonight. And I'm like, what are we eating? And then it's like, oh, let's order pizza. Well, that's not good. I have to rein that in.
Yes. But last night I came home to like a full salad bar.
I did.
Wow, which was basically taking stuff out of the fridge that, was leftovers from this and an ad. So I had this incredible salad, which you missed, Reb. Sorry.
No, I did. I did get it. I ate it.
No, you didn't see my salad. My salad was incredible.
But I mean, those are the things that they're very simple, but they are the things that are intentional in small ways that keep it reined in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing. If you could say one thing to a listener today, like after having coaching, being a part of the Unleashed workshops, or, I don't want to say it's all about more than enough, but that's what we do. Yeah. There are other financial coaches. There are other ways to get financially well. So if, for lack of a better term, what would you say to encourage people?
Okay. I thought of a quick story for this, and it's quick.
Okay.
So, I love working on my own car. It's one way we save money. And so, over time, me and my dad have kind of built up a plethora of tools to be able to work on our own cars. And so the other day I was doing an oil change in my car, and it still took some time. So the next time I did an oil change, I went to Canadian Tire, and there was an oil filter wrench. And it was the quickest oil change I've ever done. I was up and down in 5 minutes. It was awesome. And I literally said out loud, man, it's so nice to have the right tools. And when I said that, I literally thought like more than enough is kind of like that for us, right? Like there are so many tools you can have and build up, right? Like having a good pastor in your life. That's a great tool. And having encouraging mentors and families and parents-in-laws who are going to pay for this stuff with you and help you along that. But like more than enough is just like kind of that filter wrench of just saying like, man, this makes it so much easier. And it's so nice to have the right tools. So if you're listening, do it. I think we both would say, just no matter where you're at in life, like if you're married, if you've done other financial stuff, like just do it. Do the coaching, do the courses, because it's going to be an extra tool that's in your toolbox. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks, Caleb. And what about you, Emily?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest blessings of it for us has been that it's helped us to be on the same team. Yeah, it's helped us to there's stresses, of course, but it's not like against each other or anything. We're able to work through it together. And yeah, it's given us the tools to do that. So that's been really, really helpful for us. Like money hasn't really been a huge stressor for us.
Yeah, for sure.
So, which, it's been a huge blessing.
Great start. Right?
Yeah.
In the sense of, and I love what you said, Caleb, in the sense that there are many tools in the toolbox, and certain tools for certain stages of life and certain jobs. So you can take that metaphor along the way and say, at this stage in your life, the way more than enough interacted with your money was like, it's a great tool. But you guys might go, okay, now we're going to start, how do we save for a house, or what do we do for that if that's the next goal? And you may need a different tool for that and all that. So yeah, perfect. Love it. Reb, we're almost at the end of the show.
I know.
One last word from you. What do you?
I'm just really grateful to have met you. And I'm so glad you're in Unleashed. And I appreciate the wisdom that you have brought about contentment and having godly counsel. So you want to just quickly pray?
Absolutely. So Lord, again, I want to just pray a blessing on Emily and Caleb. And again, thank you for the people you've put around them as the resources that they have available to them. And Lord, just again, as they are together and pray together and listen for your wisdom in all the different ways that you speak. And we just thank you for that and just pray a blessing on them today in Christ's name. So. Well, thank you, too, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. We'll say thank you to the folks at notmine.ca. Thank you to you, the listener, and join us next week when we talk money.
Let's Talk Money is a division of More Than Enough Financial Fitness, where God is transforming hearts and bringing hope for today and freedom for tomorrow. For more information or to comment on today's show, please visit morethanenough.ca.